Hey everyone, so this is a new series that I'm trying out. It's experimental. I will be doing monthly tarot readings for all of the different zodiac signs. So feel free to watch your sun, moon, or rising, or all of them if you actually have the time to do that. There will be extended versions and those links will be down below. This is a collective reading, so keep that in mind when you're listening to it. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. If your sun sign isn't feeling like it's resonating with you, then maybe check out your rising sign next or your moon sign. So given that it's a collective reading and it's not one-to-one, it's not tapping into one exact person. So if you do want something more specific, you're welcome to book with me, but that will also be a link down below in the description. So because this is new and experimental, this is my first set of videos this month, I'd love to know how to improve this and how to make it more valuable and what you guys really think. So please let me know down in the comments as well what resonated with you, what things you'd like to make sure that I keep so that as I'm experimenting with the format that I don't take something out that a lot of you really like. So, and also if there are things that you have perhaps seen with other readers that you have enjoyed and you want to see if I can incorporate that, please let me know. One other thing I want to mention besides all of that is that we are self-determined and not predetermined. And my belief is that the tarot is a really useful tool to have messages or omens come through, which is why I say take what resonates and leave what doesn't. But we're all ultimately making our own decisions. So if you get a message in tarot that has you consider maybe shifting course, or it affirms something for you, great, fantastic. Just know that we all are the masters and creators of our own experience. So take with it what resonates and works, but really give it some thought. And, you know, I'm not a person who advocates for letting any one piece of these types of technologies dictate completely what we do without giving it its proper thought and really sitting with our emotions and deciding for ourselves what actually works best. So just really want to put that out there to make sure that you're considering that as you listen. Other than that, if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of these going forward, please like and subscribe. It helps me to continue to know that this is something that you want to see. I'm also considering doing full moon and new moon readings. I might even start to do bi-weekly depending on what people want. So again, your feedback is what really lets me know how to structure these going forward. So here's to the first month of trying these out, and I look forward to seeing more of you guys. Thanks. All right, so let's take a look at each of these sections individually. So I'm just going to bring some of these out of frame so that we can focus on them. So let's start with your general overall feel for the month of February and take a look at this. So some of you are dealing with like needing to really take a break and get some perspective, and it's only going to happen through taking a rest, getting some solace, having some solitude, some downtime to refill your cup, to regenerate. And inside of that space, inside of that rest and taking care of yourself, this is all about self-care, then you'll be able to maybe see more clearly and move forward and not resist the things that are there to actually face, right? So with what I'm seeing here, there has been either some kind of loss, or there's been a situation, or maybe an interaction between you and a person, you and a lover, you and something, that has been draining you, and it's been draining you of your energy, it's been draining your emotions, it's been a tap on your energy. And the Tower card showing up here in the challenge position is like you have an opportunity to either resist the change or to actually experience what seems really like an intense resistance to change, to what's there that needs to happen. So when we're looking at the Tower card, we have an opportunity to either accept that the foundation, the way that things are, the structures as they stand are no longer functional. They don't work anymore. So it's the going back to the drawing board and leveling everything out in order to go back and examine what needs to change? How can I create a structure, a foundation that is more stable, stronger to build on? So the lightning actually coming from the top in the traditional tarot is about the light of consciousness, the higher consciousness that is reaching out to the crown of the tower. The top of the tower is the crown chakra, your crown of consciousness. So you have information coming through that's being given to you. The reason that the tower seems so destructive and crazy and scary for people when it shows up in a reading is because this is what it looks like. That feeling of panic, of destruction, is what it seems like when we're not able to take a step back and recognize, like when we're resisting the change and we're not taking a step back to recognize, okay, something needs to happen here. I need to I need to go back to the drawing board and say, how can this all be done differently? Because whatever patterns things have been in, however things have been going, it hasn't been working. It's been draining the hell out of you to the point where you actually need to rest. So there's something not working, and resisting it not, resisting shifting focus and having things look different is what's part of what's draining you. What's needed is to actually take some time to rejuvenate, and with that get some perspective about how you can change. I don't know about you guys, but in the space of silence and solace and solitude there, and like taking time to do self-care, I often get realizations and perspective that I wouldn't have had if I had just kept going and trying to like force things to continue to go. So makes sense, it's common sense, but that's what's coming up in your general reading. Let's actually take a look at what's happening with your career. And I know Capricorns tend to be very interested in what is going on with career. So, all right. Overall, when we're looking at your career space, whether this is you're an entrepreneur, business, whatever it is that you're into, what I'm seeing is there's a lot of needing to communicate certain things. There's so much swords energy. I mean, yes, there's wands, but so there's something that needs to be communicated from your perspective. There's something that you're wanting to speak out about and say. And one of the things with the prince or the swords, or the prince of swords or knight of swords, is really about that wanting to rush in and speak before thinking. And so I think that that's one thing to just be careful about, is like there's something that you feel really needs to be communicated, and getting clear about why and what it is that you're wanting to communicate. And why meaning like what is the end goal? Like what do you think that this is actually going to shift or change about the experience in your career or work life or collaborations? But there's something that you're feeling needs to be spoken. Some of you are dealing with more than one person. Either you're dealing with a committee of people, or you're dealing with different collaborators or whatever it is, and it's like everyone's kind of trying to get their idea out there. Everyone's kind of trying to present what they want to happen. And so sometimes there can be conflict or tension in like people wanting different things and how that actually works out, how that plays out. And so this can represent some tension that is happening in the space, or at least perceived tension that's happening in the space. Meanwhile, you're wanting to just create like a space of balance and clarity, and the kind of advice that you're being given and the spiritual guidance that you're being given is to step into that space of equanimity and be able to make the decisions that need to be made. So there's probably a path of either this way or that way when it comes to all the things that are occurring inside of your collaborations or your career, what direction you take things. And so there's the need to, for some of you, get present, get quiet with yourself, and actually make a decision based on what feels the most balanced. So you need to get in tune with your intuition. And I know it seems like air, swords card is mostly air, but this is a balance between your analytical mind and look at all the water that's there, and your intuition. And I think when you can take a moment to pause, and in fact, we just saw this here, right? So if you can take a moment to pause and get present with like, what is it that you're wanting to communicate? What can you see through all of the maybe possible conflicting or vying for certain ideas or things happening? What can you actually take a moment, a pause, and see through, cut through all of the the different ideas that are being thrown out there, or all the different paths that people are wanting to take things, what does your intuition and your analytical mind align up to say? What feels balanced and equal? And then make a decision. Don't sit there hemming and hawing about the thing the whole time, right? And also, something that might be helpful, for some reason, it might be helpful for you to consider when you had a more idealistic view of things. Like when we're looking at nostalgia, which is, this card is definitely representative of nostalgia, when we are thinking back to when we were younger, having nostalgic thoughts, and to a time that felt warmer, more free, more light, more vibrant, when it comes to your career, and you had that hope and idealism and optimism that came through about what path you're on right now, tapping into those memories, those feelings, and remembering what was it about that idealistic, full of hope and possibility self of yours that would be useful to integrate into this. I think sometimes when we can get into conflict or tension, or things not going exactly to plan, or it's been kind of like a battle to try and move through things for too long, we start to forget what it feels like to be full of vibrancy and hope and lightness and possibility. You know, the feeling of beautiful weather and everything feels light, you know? So where can you look at taking, borrowing from your past selves, from those instances, and bringing like that into coloring how you make your decisions going forward with your career, with whatever's going on in your career? So, and I think we're going to probably look a little bit deeper into that. But with that said, let's move forward and take a look at what is happening in your love life, Capricorn. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is that for some of you, this is a completion of something that was not necessarily balanced or being reciprocated. There was something to really consider when it came to your romantic entanglements or relationships, or whatever it is, whether you're dating, serious relationship, whatever it is. Just apply the themes to your specific situation. Again, this is a collective reading, not a specific to your situation. So find the themes that actually apply, and let's take a look here. So what I'm seeing is that there was the consideration of the equal exchange of energy, the equal exchange of attention, affection, love, maybe relationship, or maybe financial reciprocation. But there were resources on both sides that were needing to be considered about whether there was an actual equal exchange. Were you the one putting in too much? Were you the one that was giving too much in a certain area, not receiving enough? And that was like some kind of consideration that was needing to come forward with this, right? And then, you know, there's also just the needing to get perspective or to get away, right? Needing to take off and like get some space in order to see what was actually what was occurring here. And for some of you, this is an actual needing to just move the hell on. Like it's hard to let go and needing to just leave the situation because it's not what it was, what was hoped for in this space. And with the World card, what I'm seeing here is that this is a completion. This is a completion of one cycle and a movement into the next cycle, right? So, and it's because of this is what you want, right? You want something like, you want a relationship that is not like walled up inside the walls. You want something out in the open that's beautiful and that feels celebratory, where the walls are down and you get to reap the harvest of all the hard work that you put in and feel like you're in this beautiful union with somebody, right? So this is for some of you, it looks like this wasn't an equal exchange, needing to move forward and it being kind of difficult to let that go, but you're being told that this is the end of one cycle and the beginning of a new beautiful cycle to move you forward closer to what it is that you're actually wanting. One other way that that's coming through for me to read this for some of you is like some of you are needing to consider whether there's an equal exchange, and you may need to actually get some space, and like the having of that space might feel challenging, scary, or whatever, you know, because of that, what that could mean. But in order to move, like sometimes moving a relationship, the end of one cycle in a relationship doesn't always mean breakup. Sometimes this means that the form in which the relationship is currently, how it stands, where you guys are both at in the way that you are, your personalities, your personal growth, all of that, that doesn't work anymore. And there's a need for it to shift out of that and into something that's more like this, right? So for those of you in committed relationships, I would say that would be something I'm feeling something to consider. And we're looking at that like coming through when we're looking at the general, the overall, we saw the tower that came through, right? It's like when we resist the new cycle and the turn at the end of one cycle the way it was, sometimes we can hold on to and resist that, and that's when it feels like the tower. So you're being warned against that, and also like this difficulty and just like go. You know, sometimes getting the space is what you actually need. For some of you though, what I was saying before, it wasn't an equal exchange, it wasn't working, you need to go and let it go. Just take off to new adventures, new places, and let the new cycle begin so that it moves you closer to what it is that you want. Okay, so with that, we're going to take a look at some, we're going to pull some cards, some oracle cards. So I like to take a look at goddess and god cards because I feel that those are different kinds of archetypes that we can tap into that allow us to tune into certain kinds of strengths, things that we can embody to get us through any of the challenging experiences that we're having. I also want to take a look at any blind spots that you're experiencing. This is the blind spots, or aka shadow work, are things that can really trip us up along the way, where we don't know that they're kind of like running the show in the background, or they're things that we know are kind of there, we need to look at, and we choose not to. So, but they can really be running the show in the background. So, actually got two that came out here. For some additional, just like what is the deeper spiritual work to do? How are you being instructed to move into this month? If you want to take a conscious approach, if you want to not be at the effect of, but to be the cause in your world, how can we look at that? And then what, you know, every part of our life feels like we're on a journey, right? And so this is about determining where on that journey are we, and how can we apply like the, you know, how can we apply that knowledge to where we're at currently? And then we're going to take a look at something that's a little bit more instructive. I do like looking at the runes because I think that sometimes they can give a more direct and clear picture that's more piercing. So one of the things that I also wanted to take a look at was from the general reading. I'd like to get a sense of just where is that draining energy coming from. I felt like there were more cards that were coming out. Interesting. All right, so we're going to take a look at where some of that draining energy is coming from in your life. We want to take a look at that. And I'm also curious about this whole situation with work. And I want to choose here. Okay. So we're going to get some clarification there when it comes to the work life experience and what's happening with the struggle that's happening there. I feel like the love reading was pretty damn clear. So these are the cards that we're going to look at in the extended reading. Again, the link for that is down below. And if you want a specific reading, the link for that is also in the description. So please let me know what you would like to see more of, what you liked about this, what you'd like me to keep around so that I don't get rid of it, and how I can continue to improve these for you guys. And again, liking and subscribing lets me know what you like about this, and it also ensures that you don't miss any of the ones coming up, because I might be doing readings that are bi-weekly or moon-based, you know, for full and new moons or things of that nature. So I may or may not be looking into doing like a live for February 14th, just as a fun hangout for anyone who wants love reading. So that's something to consider. If that's something that you want, please weigh in on that, and I will see you guys, if not sooner than that, next month for March.